Okay, time for a new releases video. This is the 6th episode this year. Of course, there's been an enforced 2-month break courtesy of my health. I'm slowly getting back to where I was, but it takes time when you're 68 years of age. In this video, I'm going to look at a few new albums that I first came across prior to a few months back, but anyway, I'm going to get on with it. And the first band I want to talk about is Gang of Youths, who plays a guitar and sings lead vocals. Max Don is on bass guitar, Jun Kim lead guitar and keyboards, Donny Bostowski plays drums, and Tom Hopton violin, keyboards and guitar. This band started friended O'Donnell and Chicago-born Kim at the church youth group, and the band were formed in 2011. LePep described himself during this time as a loner, but stated that while I still align myself with Jesus, he was just not a great poster boy for it. In 2008, after leaving his previous school, LePep started attending the Mosman High School, more prestigious, where he continued performing his own songs at school concerts. Also at Mosman High was Kiwi Max Dunn, who befriended LePep during their final year of school in 2009. The band's first gig was at the Sydney Hibernian House in 2012, and then they started playing regular support gigs in small Sydney venues, and also started making some demos, and word started filtering out about their impressive live show, and they played their first headline in 2013 at the reopening of a Sydney nightclub. Their first single appeared later that year, and they were featured heavily as they embarked on a national tour. The studio album, The Positions, received multiple ARIA award nominations, and their second album, Go Farther in Lightness, was later released in 2017, and the album debuted at #1 on the Australian charts, and was nominated again for 8 awards at the Australian Music Awards ceremony. And they finished recording their second album, Go Farther in Lightness, in 2017. They made their US TV debut in March 28, featuring on Late Night with Seth Meyers, and on 30th of September 2018 they played before the National Rugby League Grand Final in front of 82,000 fans at the ANZ Stadium in Sydney. To try and bring us up to date, 2019, LePep announced that the band's long-awaited third studio album would be released in 2020. Then COVID arrived, and he had to scrap 2 versions of the album, not satisfied with that, and eventually it was released in this year. The album's lyrics were definitively about LePep's dealing with his father's death the previous year, and we're talking about 2019. And so now let's get on to looking at that third album. It was released in February of this year, and again hugely successful, and actually made #10 on the UK albums charts. And I'm going to go through the album now. As mentioned, the album deals, it was inspired in fact by the life of lead singer David LePep's Samoan-born father. He died from cancer in 2018. The record is literate, effusive and full of romantic empathy for the world, and her music style is very much alternative rock. And I'm going to go through the tracks, let's get started with that. Track 1 is You in Everything. It starts off with a tribal montage of sounds as the intro segues into Pep's vocals with Pacific Islands harmonies, and the strings create a symphonic feel. The lyrics very much a reflective look at past actions, both selfish and lacking insight, is the message from the author. To track 2, In the Wake of Your Leave, this song's about father's passing and its impact on Lil Pep's life, the changing actions, and it's very much fast-paced rock. Next up is The Angel of 8th Avenue, with some skippy drums and powerful bass lines which dominate. And I heard the Triffids, an Aussie band from the 80s and 90s, in the mix. The bass creates a very strident beat. The next track has a very dominant strings input above the vocal. It sounds that it's been influenced by New Order to an extent. Just listen to the bass runs. And then we have Unison with some touching vocals enveloped with violins, which creates a powerful storytelling beat. There's some gorgeous horns that ooze out of the speakers like clouds in the sky, which enhances a funky alt-rock beat, and adding those Samoan harmony tribal sounds again to get a real feel of this song. Tend the Gardens next, a melodic mix of strings, keyboards and percussion with a nod to funky soul R&B. And then we move on to The Kingdom Is Within You, a prophetic view of everyone's life that's interconnected. Again, the New Order influences create a powerful sound. And then Spirit Boy is next, an awesome piece of arena style rock, a favourite of mine, and the arrangements embellishing some of U2 style power. And one can hear U2's guitarist, The Edge, with his power chords on this. The outro has more Samoan tribal harmonies. And then Brothers, his father's history. It's a centerpiece, and I'm going to read the lyric to this one. It's got a very powerful tale describing his father's secret life, his secret philandering, and finding out about new family. Brothers, the lyric then. Our father hid a lot of painful memories, a bunch of shit he never shared. But when he died, I went out looking for them, for all the things he never said. Thought he was born in 1948, but was born a whole decade before. Thought he was brought up in New Zealand, but he was born and brought up in Samoa. We thought that he was only half Samoan, that his mother was a German Jew, but I went and found his birth certificate, and he lied about that too. Our father's love was unmistakable, and he gave us everything he had. And I guess that meant pretending he was half white to give his kids a better chance. My sister, she lives out in New York City, been there since I was 17, and I think she hates it, but like most New Yorkers, she just can't bring herself to leave. She used to love to watch our father cooking and imitate the things she'd seen, and now she makes the most amazing things, and she also sings better than me. And when he died, she and her husband stayed to keep my mother company, and even though it fucked them up a lot, they did a better job than me. Verse 3, and I wish that we could see them every weekend, and she could cook her famous meals, and I wish that I could hang out with her husband more than a couple of times a year. Our brother Wesley is a quiet man, and he is the second of us 4, and we inherited our father's hands, but he looks like me a little more. He has a love that's unmistakable, and he's seen police brutality. He lives in Auckland with his wife and dog, and he stands a shade above 6'3". Our father left him with a cousin then. He got into trouble frequently, and me and my sister only heard of him in 2018. Our brother Matthew is a baker, and he stands a mighty 7 foot. He was brought up in a Maori family and speaks Te Reo fluently. He didn't know about our father till I guess he was about 18, and he did some time for something awesome, and he's the sweetest guy you'll ever meet. He came to meet me at a festival and he told me everything he knew, that our father left him at the hospital, but if he forgives him, then I should too. And finally, the verse 5, after an interlude, I knew our father had his reasons, but that can never make it right or fair, and I hate myself for stealing all his love when my brothers thought that he was dead. So as I dig through the collateral, the secrets hid throughout the years, I know I'll hardly ever answer them, but it's the way to keep them near. And then we have the final la 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 outro. Continuing on, more humility, more self-reflection here. The song closes with chant-like harmonies on top of flowing percussive rhythms. Confidence, futures is the message here, and there's a meandering guitar which is exquisite at the outro. And then we move on to the man himself, a string vocal harmony mix which bounces into up-tempo melodies that collide like simple minds-driven beat. Strings weave in and out of the collage of the vocals. And then to Hand of God, a piano solo on intro with religious church-like tones of ethnic community culture. It sounds like a call to strength, influence and thriving as one moves forward. A hallelujah sound as strings fade to the outro with the synths as it segues to an instrumental finale. And that goal is the goal of the century, which is a sublime piece and a final positive message by the creator, Le Père. So basically you need to listen to this album repeatedly, but it grows on you and you become more and more tuned in to this style of music and this message. Wonderful, possibly the album of the year. Get to listen to it. And just to remind you of the title again, it's called Angels in Revolt, and the name of the band is The Gangs of Youth. Sorry, I got that wrong. Angels in Real Time by The Gang of Youth.